It's EVE Online in 2020. Today is May 27th. And I am Metterall here with some friends. We're going to talk about EVE Online, what's going on. We've had a huge change that's just happened. We'll try to review what some of the first impressions are of that. And we will get on with some of the big kills of the day. So EVE Online status monitor in For Tranquility, that's the Western server. Pretty average showing there at about 35,000 peak. That is the day after a holiday. So people are back at work in their homes. Let's check that again. We're starting to... Well, it's not a pattern, but I did like to see those numbers at the low 40s, so I'd like to see those numbers back up. We'll see what's going on. Okay, moving on to recent statistics. Make an adjustment here. That's easier to see. Okay. Most violent regions. Now this may change because the map has changed today, so we'll see what's going on here. Most violent regions in 0-0 space are Vale of the Silent. Had 691 ships destroyed in the last 24 hours. Delve, right behind them at 649 ships destroyed. In third place, the K.Expanse. Those are essentially what we would expect. Vale of the Silent is a hotspot right now, and Delve and K.Expanse are typical places, typical hunting grounds. Now this is what I'm looking forward to, is the Empire regions. That is high sec and low sec, to see what they are going through now that the Triglavians are invading. And in first place you have the Forge with 3,251 ships destroyed. Lone Trek now coming in second with 1,959, and Domain 1,756. That looks very normal, except Forge looks a little bit high today. So zeroing in on some systems, stuff that's gone on in the last 24 hours. Let's see. So Rio, or R10 in K.Expanse, had 134 ships destroyed. That's actually within the threshold of normal as people jump into Horde's space looking for people to kill. And you have the exact same thing going on in Delve. Their headquarters, 1DQ, 1 TAC A, had 151 ships destroyed. Then in Geminate, you had 104 ships destroyed in BE TAC UUN. So there might be something going on there. Fourth place, just a note, Tribute region had MTAC O, famous system, 81 ships destroyed there. Moving on to most violent low-sec systems. In the last 24 hours, Tama, that is the Citadel area. It's also known as the gateway into low-sec, is at number 1 at 451 ships destroyed. In second place, the Bleaklands regions has Kernanan, 264 ships destroyed. And then in Black Rise region, you have Rakapas, 193 ships destroyed. We don't usually see Bleaklands in the second place, but that is an area where faction war happens. So any strong collision of factions in a fight can put that on the board like it did today. So we'll see what's going on there maybe. Most violent systems in high sec, and this is we're zeroing in now on the interesting part because Triglavians have probably mixed up what are the normal violent systems, so we'll see. In first place is Anaya the Forge with 1,246 ships destroyed last 24 hours. Putting Jita in second place by far. He only had 574 ships destroyed there. And then in third place, Serade, 799 ships destroyed, but far less pods, 203. So Jita gets second place, even though it had less ships destroyed, because it had 593 pods destroyed, which is a huge number. It could be suicide pods, self-destructing players who want to wake up in a different system but don't want to travel there. So they take the, what do we call that? The Underground Express? All right. Last area here is the NPC situation. I guess this is set up for 0-0. It doesn't account for Empire space, which is unfortunate because it would be interesting to see how that has rated over the last few months now that HiSec has a lot of activity for NPC ratting. And in first place is Outer Passage. That's actually a new entry. UTAC F system has 37, almost 38,000 NPCs destroyed. Oasa region has PTAC-Z. This is much more normal. We're familiar with that system. Has 33,000 NPCs destroyed. And in the Expanse, the Kalevala Expanse S-Tech L, we have 29,000 ships destroyed. Those are all NPC ships. All right, let's move on to the Killboards. We're looking at everything over 5 billion ISK worth. That's usually where we see some of the accidents of people carrying expensive things and dying, or the bigger ships that people are usually interested in. We won't go through all of them, but I'm looking for anomalies. We have Intrepid Crossing losing a Nidhogger. So the 6 billion price tag on a Nidhogger is a little unusual. Just drill down real quick. Capital funds. Looking to see if it's in the cargo or in the fit. He had some, type A's or A types and X types. That shouldn't account for all that, though. Even that comes to that kind of mid-slot shield modules setup came to about 2.5 billion. The Nidhogger itself is worth less than that. The Nidhoggers, it's only 1.3 billion, so I'm looking for the balance. I don't see it. Maybe it's a combination of everything. The rigs, 1.3. God, the rigs were worth as much as the ship. Yeah, I guess it adds up then. You have fighters that cost a lot and equipment that cost a lot, but that total 6.5 billion for a Nidhogger. Now, Nidhogger is just a carrier. It's not a super carrier or anything, or a special faction ship. All right, I'll have to review that. So Kalevala Expanse Pandemic Horde loses a Nomad. That's a jump freighter. Pretty much cost of the ship. There's a Fortizar that is destroyed in J-Space, belonging to Night Nova Union, Killjoy Elite. And in Mail Pass, you have Northern Coalition losing a Rorqual. It's just a Rorqual. And we're seeing a lot of Marshals lately, and here's another one, Ingita, getting killed. This belonged to Slayer77. That's a character. He's in an NPC corporation called The Scope. He's wiped out by Heldon, and so his Marshal goes down for almost 7 billion. So that same wormhole that we talked about earlier, the J space wormhole, that group Night Nova Union of Killjoy Elite loses Asbal as well. Looks like they're being attacked by Unchained Alliance.
It was a eviction by a combination of exit strategy and wholesale operations.
Okay, thanks for that information. Is it over?
Given that the structures are gone, I presume they're in the process of cleaning out the wormhole, like taking all of its assets and then departing. What's interesting is that Marshal is almost completely unfit. No low slots, no mid slots, no rigs. Just
that is true. What was he doing? Looks like he went out half dressed.
Well, the player, I presume somebody bought it and lost it.
Yeah. Let's see. Taken out by Haldon. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. The price tag then is mostly the ship. Yeah, I mean the... I don't know what was going on here. I'm sorry. Something went wrong there. He might have been trying to move it someplace where he could fit it properly, but he got taken out in Jita, so where are you going to go? I don't know what's going on.
The player seemed to be very active, so my assumption is he recently bought it with whatever ISK he's acquired, and then he immediately lost.
Sounds reasonable. Yeah, so we've been seeing a lot of Marshals lately. That's the first one I've seen that is kind of unprepared. Okay, let's move on. Looks like Narja Domain gets into the news with a Providence that's destroyed, belonged to Evolution of Skywalkers. It was killed by Code. That came out to about 7.7 billion. Take a quick look, because Providence is usually worth about $1 billion. That's 6 billion in cargo. Oof. Yeah, it looks like a lot of titanium. Oh, this list goes on forever. Yeah, it's just a ton of stuff. Wow, he's got some A-type thermal plating. No huge ticket item, but it looks like just an enormous amount of equipment taken out. And about half of it dropped. So that's you're gonna need a freighter to pick up the loot. All right, so that was Narja. Watch out for that system. Told you Code would be sitting on that. All right, and as of yesterday, the May 26th, after we went on air, let's check out what happened there. Initiative lost a Rorqual to Snuff. That happened in Fountain, G9-5. Bleak Lens, ooh, let's see what happened here with this pod. High-grade implants, these are the amulets. These are relatively new. I think those are shield-based. So, yeah, those go for, as you can see, anywhere from 230 million to 1.3 billion per. And you have to put in like 5 of those. Then he also had some other plugins. So yeah, that total of that kill for that pod was over 5 billion. And that was in the Bleak Lens in Jarkland. Jarkland's an interesting system. I believe it has a huge amount of mining. Oh, I wonder if this is... No, it's not. Trying to figure out where that pod came from. The ship must have been worth less than the pod because he's not on here as a ship. Okay, Nirvana are the shield ones. What are the amulets then? I thought those were new too. Anybody know in this channel?
Amulets are armor health. Increases flat armor.
Oh, so that's the new name for slaves. Okay. My mistake. So those are armor. My mistake. Okay, in Narja, again, another... This is an Anshar. That's a jump freighter. It gets taken out. That belonged to GD Capital. Again, Code. Code's busy in Narja, as would be expected. Yeah, thanks, Toxic Apollo. I figured out the reason I thought amulets were shields is because amulets was the new name for slaves that changed at the same time that shield slaves came in. They were part of the same restructuring of implants. So it stuck in my head that amulets were actually a variation of shield. But good to know. And Nirvana is definitely shield. Okay, and we form VOLTA, losing a pair of Fortizars. Don't know what's going on there. Looks like Triumvirate and Reckless Contingency both taking a Fortizar away from VOLTA. In Obi, that's the Forge, I believe. It's low sec right next to null sec. And Hakonnen, both those systems are well traveled by null sec people coming from the north. We're getting to the Nyx. We'll get there in a second. We have some marshals to go through first. In Cormonen and the Bleaklands, again, you have suddenly spaceships losing a marshal for 8.6 billion. That's about the price of a marshal. Let's look. This one is fit. So that looks more normal. And then we also have in Providence a marshal getting taken out that belonged to Brave Collective. And it's killed by Colación Hispana. So that is a Hispanic coalition taking out a Brave Collective marshal. Okay, so here's the Nyx, and it looks like they got the Nyx and the pod. This belonged to Lana Trade from Legion of xDeath. The Nyx was destroyed in 5DE attack, and that is in Wicked Creek. And it was 53 billion ISK, which is a very expensive version of that Nyx, in that it was probably fit or had, we know it was carrying some modules that were very expensive. We'll check that in a second. But not only did he lose the Nyx, he or she lose the Nyx for 53 billion, but also the pod for 10 billion. So let's look.
The Nyx was killed by a corporation that is a friend of ours. It's Strix Riddance. They're a C2 wormhole group that does a lot of small gang PvP. And we actually heard the ping when they requested backup, but they were thankfully able to kill it. And from what I've read from their report of the kill, they were traveling around in Wicked Creek when they found a Nyx had cyanoed into the system that they were on, straight on top of a Fortizar. At this point, the Nyx panicked and warped towards the moon. And they followed the Nyx to the moon and then burned a Saber 100k, 100 kilometers to where the Nyx landed and bobbled it. They put the cyano down, which is why in that system there's also a recon ship, xDeath. And they killed it. They've actually found the Nyx had cyanoed in with half armor. With none of us, neither they nor we are sure why the Nyx came in.
Looks like it was set up. It looks like it was set up to travel though. It's just got Capri chargers and inertia stabilizers.
It hasn't appeared to have done anything with a Nyx recently, so I'm puzzled to what happened with this Nyx as well. But I do know that every ISK, every penny of that this Nyx dropped was extracted and was brought to safety. So I'm
it didn't all drop. 4 out of 5 Unit D modifier support units did drop. That's 4 out of 5, but those are worth 4.5 billion each. So that's that's your money right there. That's 18.5 billion in basically modules that enhance your drone capacity or your ability with drones. And this thing was only set up with drones. It had a cloak. It was set up with drones, and even its rigs were capital hyperspatial velocity. So this thing was built to move, not to fight. It has no tank.
I'm surprised there's not even a nester inside for it to refit.
It's rigged for speed. That's what's interesting. This thing was like a glass cannon. I don't know what purpose it's used for, but it doesn't even look like it was traveling somewhere to get set up.
Well, what's interesting is just how little damage it took because it sinoed in with half armor.
Oh,
And,
somebody
well,
points out Fonsway. It's travel fit cap for jumps. Yeah, but I think when you have cap hyperspatial velocity in your rigs, like that's not the basis to start building a tank with. So I wonder when this thing is outfitted, what it's supposed to look like. Right now, it makes sense, but I don't know what it makes sense for. Yeah, it might be a suitcase to travel with. It does have. It's just basically built for speed and capacitor to make sure you have enough energy to jump. Well, we'll have to find out. It's fairly interesting. Let's see what maybe the pod can tell us a bit more. High grade ascendancies again for speed, right? Isn't ascendancy for speed?
yes, it is. The pilot was traveling with it seems.
Yeah, but you high grades for speed on a Nix rigged for speed and fit for speed. Something's going on here. I don't know what it is, but it's interesting. Yeah, and he has but I think he was fit the way he wanted to be fit. I don't think he was moving. That's my point. But yeah, that plugin there that Fonsway points out is 3 billion. Creo drone yellow jacket drone tuner. Let's click on that module. Increases damage output of drones at the expense of strength. And so this guy was all speed and damage.
I think I have a hypothesis of why what they were doing. It seems that they must have left this Nix in cold storage somewhere, and they were previously using it to bash structure, posses, and customs officers. And I presume they've left it in cold storage somewhere, and later they've returned to go pick it up. And unfortunately, attempting to extract it back to wherever they plan to extract it, which was probably back to Legion of Death space, they've lost it.
That's actually a good theory. This thing is meant to hit structures, right? Before Triglavian technology, what you did was, there's various things that you did, but this makes sense. It's like kind of a precursor to Triglavian technologies, which are really good on structures.
I'm doing some investigating and forensics on its killboard, and it seems it
Yeah.
was in a previous Renter Alliance in the relatively the same region, and they were using it to bash structures. And only recently, this player returned to Eve after looks like a 1 year break, and they joined Legion of xDeath. And I presume they tried to travel to that location a few times, only to
Yeah.
now lose it.
It kind of makes sense, but when you're a renter, you're not necessarily responsible for the defense of your territory because you're renting it from somebody that is responsible for the defense of your territory. And therefore, your Nix may not have to be a warhorse. It might be something that's task oriented. And this thing looks like, again, it built for speed with large amount of damage. Could have been meant for structures that don't really fight back. Interesting. Okay, a couple more. In Canid, we have an Acator that went down for 10 billion, and in Perimeter, we have an Acator that went down for 17 billion. Let's check that second one. This is from Test Alliance. They lost this one. Oh, carrying a mess of stuff. Yeah, it goes on and on. Ton of equipment. Maybe we covered this one yesterday. But yeah, that had a price tag of most of it destroyed. It looks like 9 billion of the 16 billion destroyed. All right, that's the Killboards. Looking at tire board, Vale the Silent, keeping her eyes there. Freight Train Diplomacy has iHub that is coming out in 6 hours, 7 hours. And Deepwater Hooligans also have one coming out in 12, 13 hours. Those are rounding up. In Fountain, you have the Bastion, 2 iHubs up. And going back to Vale, there's like 4 iHubs in Vale, and the other 2 belong to Fraternity, and the last one belongs to Forsaken Empire. And then Dotlan, which is right nearby, Banderlog Alliance. So Vale is heating up. Lots of people going after iHubs. Now, iHubs, again, are signals that there is possibly an attempt to weaken the overall defensiveness of a system. And when you do that, it's easier to take out structures in that system. So these are precursors to taking out structures. And that's why we look at these. And these are where usually the defense is raised, because once the iHub goes, it's a matter of time. So, okay. Let's get on to the big stories of the day. How did Patch Day turn out with the Triglavian Invasion Part 3 coming to EVE Online? Arya, you still here with us?
Yeah, so briefly, the structures change went in yesterday with the patch. And any structure that's in low power has started their 7-day timer. And after 7 days, if it's still in low power, it will go to abandoned. So we should see in about a week or so a run on structures. People killing abandoned structures to get the loot drop out of them. Another side effect that came out, though, is if your structure was high power, but you didn't have all your modules on, we're getting reports that the patch turned on all your modules. And this is important as a structure owner and also for a hunter. Some structure owners will only turn on certain modules that consume fuel in an effort to make those fuel stocks last as long as possible. And maybe they have other modules they only turn on as needed. But when the patch turns everything on, those structures will run out of fuel sooner than the owner anticipated. That also means as you're flying around, you see high power structures, they may go to low power without the owner being prepared. And if the owner doesn't spend the next 7 days afterwards fueling it, they can go to abandoned.
Yeah. Now, this all started on the 26th yesterday, so we're in day 1 of 7 for structures wanting to see if you are fueling them, and if not, they will switch over to abandoned mode. Right now, they should be in low powered. It's interesting. I wonder if CCP did that just in case they said, we don't want any complaints, so let's turn on all the modules that exist on these structures and let them draw fuel so that they'll be safer longer. Instead of turning on one module, they probably couldn't figure out what module was off, so they probably just turned them all on. Something like that, maybe, or it's just a bug. But the net effect is
the specific text on the update on the mechanic was if a structure's modules do not draw fuel for 7 days. So it actually didn't specify that it had to be low power already. In other words, it could be a structure with fuel with no service modules turned on, and that could potentially go to abandoned.
Right. So I wonder if CCP is saying, we don't want complaints that people said, I had fuel in this thing. Because CCP would then say, yeah, but you didn't have any modules turned on. So maybe they wanted to avoid that situation and turned on the modules automatically for everyone.
As Nick's mentioning in chat, he had a structure that had partial modules on, and this did not happen. So this means it's not consistent. Maybe all your modules turned on, maybe they didn't. And regardless of whether your structures were in high power or low power, you got a notification. So I logged into just pages and pages of notifications of high power and low power, but no indication of were all the modules turned on or not. And if you have a lot of structures, it may mean you have some investigating work to do.
Yeah.
So this is part of the reason why they gave us so much time to check our stuff out. Like they have been about like really dropping stuff on us, but they gave a lot of lead time with this change.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they're going to err on the side of letting people sort through more communication instead of people get surprised by lack of communication. Well, there's Habit Gaming. How's it going, Habit? Yeah, so anyway, check that out. That's it's pretty interesting. You may be drawing more power than you expected to, so double check your structures and how fast they're eating through your fuel. Do not get caught unaware. Okay, what about the bigger story of emerging conduits?
Well, emerging conduits is only the smallest piece of the. I was hoping Ash would be around to talk about this because he really dove in yesterday. He was
Yeah,
doing the sites and everything.
he said he'd be here,
But,
so he might jump
yeah,
in.
he may still. I'll keep his seat warm for him. I'll shut up. I'll shut
Well,
up.
why
when
don't
he
you tell
shows
us
up.
then? Let's start wherever you want to start with the
Yeah.
invasion. What's
So
going on?
Invasion Chapter 3 has been released. So that means that all the Chapter 2 content is now shut off, and what we see is a different interface in the agency. We see 5 buttons. The center one is Stellar Reconnaissance, which is where both Edencom and the Convocation of Triglav are checking stuff out, and they're trying to establish some sort of a foothold based on player activity. If you hit the Edencom sites, then that will progress, for the Triglavians. If you hit the Triglavian sites, that will progress for Edencom. The sites that you see in that stage are initially just emerging conduits, which now only exist here instead of everywhere in HiSec. They were scattered around. They're no longer scattered around. They only exist in invaded systems now. So you can clear the emerging conduits, kill Triglavians, and push the bar towards Edencom for the first stage. Or you can kill the Edencom forward posts. And the Edencom forward posts are going to be populated by whichever empire's space you're in. So Ash was doing a Mars sites last night. Clearing away Imperial Navy rats, losing Edencom standing, but not Empire standing, which is an important note. This only impacts invasion-related stuff, not your overall standing. And trying to push back the tide because they were in a system that was being pushed heavily for Edencom, so they were trying to push back for the Triglavians. I don't think they succeeded, but they were still able to do it. As you progress through that stellar reconnaissance phase, once you push it more towards one side, then the minor conduits, which was the lowest tier of the Triglavian invasion site, starts showing up. And the Edencom equivalent starts showing up as well, which is the staging areas. The staging areas are equivalent to the minor conduit. And then eventually, as you push it into, so we haven't seen a liminality happen. We haven't seen a system be pushed towards first liminality or second liminality, which is towards the Triglavian side, because that seems to be bugged out. As a system was pushed, from the reconnaissance phase into the first liminality phase, it just went away. But towards Edencom, it has worked, and systems have been moved through the 2 stages of reinforcement and up to Edencom Fortress, which is the final stage, which has no progress bar. It just stays that way for a while, and we don't know how long.
Now, when the Triglavians win the system and it just despawns, are the system effects disappearing or are they lingering?
Yeah, everything it's just going away. It's like the invasion, it just never happened in that system. It appears to be bugged out because you can go towards Edencom, you just can't go towards Triglavian.
That's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the text here, chat. Time away, Cowboy says. CCP already patching the patches. Same shizzle as first quadrant. Did we see this before?
So what is important? So firstly, this is obviously new content. It's going to need tweaks, and we know that the developer team that is specifically behind this content is watching very, very closely. So they're going to make sure that this works, and they're looking for the defects and the bugs, and they'll be fixing. But one point that I missed that is actually important to note is that as I indicated earlier, the maximum security status for a system is the base security status. Moving a system to an Edencom fortress did not raise its security level. This is a fight between its normal security and potentially all the way down to 0.0. But this is not a way to raise the security status of a system.
I'm reading chat here. This is from Ginger Well, red's hard to read. Minger or something. The French streamer Jebby pushed it, but it bugged out. And Bjorn B.
He's Croatian.
Yeah, Bjorn B corrects him. He's Croatian, LOL. So get that straight. Yeah, but Habit Gamer says, one of the funniest things I've seen in Triglavian people... Oh, one of the funniest things I've seen is Triglavian people sending logistics to rep the rats. So the Edencom couldn't make progress in the site.
Yeah. So that was happening. So basically, as this is... until something becomes low sec or null sec, then it's high sec. So you can't outright attack other players. So the way that you progress a system one way or the other is by clearing the opposing side's sites. But the other way to prevent, to affect your side is to prevent the other team from clearing sites. So you can send guys to go and rep the NPCs in the sites that you don't want cleared. And that doesn't trigger Concord or anything. What it does do is it gets you payout for the site, which is probably shouldn't happen, but whatever. But yeah, you can slow them down or you can prevent them entirely from clearing sites by repairing the rats.
All right, cool. So
patch notes today, and there's nothing that mentions that this is a bug with the Triglavians winning and the site just despawning with no change. And I get that the invasion's been very secretive. CCP has not given us a lot of details, but one of the feedbacks that players have given, especially lately over the last year, was we want to know when we're in a bug situation. With the absence of CCP not saying that this is a bug, is it really a bug? Or is it that CCP is not admitting it's a bug?
No, it means they haven't reacted to it yet. I bet that Sledgehammer will react to this as soon as he is aware.
That's CCP Sledgehammer as a developer.
CCP Sledgehammer is on the team that works, Team Event Horizon, that works on the invasion.
The fact that it works one way towards Edencom and it doesn't work, or isn't seeming to be working the other way, doesn't mean that it's a bug, because clearly one direction the system does work. So, if there was a bug, I'd imagine both directions wouldn't function.
That's funny, because that tells me it is a bug. Like, why would they allow it to go one way and not the other? It doesn't seem like part of the storytelling. It seems like a...
So you're reading what Tiger says here in chat. I was an Eldic system where Triglavians
won. That's
the
system that Jebby flipped.
Yeah, but the security status did not decrease.
Yeah, we don't know. So it could be. So it's possible that the security status hook-in is bugging out. And this this is a shot in the dark. It's possible the security status hook-in is bugging out, and that's what's preventing the invasions from progressing in the Triglavian direction.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's a not a chapter, but a section of this invasion where the security status will change later.
Yeah, we don't know is the answer. Let's give it some time. It's now it's...
Yeah, I don't want CCP to give us the answers to the invasion, but if players hit a bug, I would appreciate letting us know, because I know a lot of players spent a very long time yesterday running these sites. And if they're hitting a bug, I'm sure they appreciate to know, hey, there's a bug here. This is not normal.
This guy, Denkus Swap, spent 11 hours grinding in Aldec, so yeah, it's a pain. But yeah, all right. So we'll find out in the next few days if it's bugged. I have to admit that it's kind of a tradition to try new things without high expectations, because it is a complicated series of systems. Normally when things come out, bugs are not unusual. So sometimes people sit out and wait a while. You can see this especially in people who use the marketplace, because they do not want to make a mistake on the marketplace. So when changes come to the market mechanics, people sit out for a while, which is what happened recently. All right, what else? Arya, you were saying some things about Ragnarborg's missing and conduits being gone and all the Invasion 2 stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, some folks in Discord have commented on it. So one, emergent conduits has become a
Yeah, they're not
popular
missing or
activity in high
gone. They've
sec.
moved.
Yeah, just getting that. So yeah, so it's been a popular activity. It brings an anomaly style PvE activity to high sec, something in null sec. We're used to anomalies. You go to anomaly, you drop your drones, you pay some attention to it or not, and you finish the site. And that is now gone, not because of a bug, but because that was chapter 2 content, and we're now chapter 3. So that content is now gone. And there have been some folks on Discord, on the TIS Discord, not happy about that. Additionally, though, from a positive note,
why weren't they happy about that?
I think it's because it's solo content they can engage in, and now that's gone. And maybe this new content doesn't have solo activity. It seems like the new chapter 3 is centered around group activity. Fonzie would notice better
No,
than I would
the
if there's
emerging
any
conduits.
solo.
The emerging conduits are easier to clear alone than before.
So they're only in the invasion sites?
Correct. So they now only show up in invaded systems.
Oh, and I'm saying it's also they're upset because they were being mined, and that was the other change. You can't mine out of these sites anymore. The asteroids have been turned to cosmetic.
Ooh. Yet more constriction on minerals. Look for prices to increase.
Now that's new.
Ben Spoon is saying they are not soloable anymore.
I would argue.
Okay, so maybe, but people are not necessarily happy with changes to something that was working well for them. I think that's safe to say. And if you can't mine them, that also hurts certain people who were doing okay making money off minerals and mining minerals.
The other thing I heard is Rasnaborgs are no longer roaming anymore. They're constrained to the invasion site.
Yep.
Has anyone else been able to confirm that?
That is the report.
And that's obviously good for new players. It's hard to learn Eve, but as a new player who may wander into a Rasnaborg infested zone, they lose their ship very quickly. So now, if it being in an invasion site, there's plenty of notice to let a new player know you are in a dangerous area of space.
What was the guy you were talking about?
Rasnaborg themselves were also severely. Their description was changed to reflect the fact that they're weaker than the other Triglavian rats that you're going to encounter. They have about half the hit points they had before. They move more slowly. They have a larger sig. They do less damage, and their remote effects are.
Oh yeah, you were talking about somebody who flew a ship to participate in this stuff and wasn't able to use drones, didn't have the skills. Was that you?
No, that was something different. We had someone in Discord yesterday, a new player who, it was just a new player story, not related to the invasion, where he was mining. And
okay.
He was given a ship with drones, and he learned very quickly he couldn't use drones because he didn't have the skill trained.
Okay. Sorry. I conflated those two events. We were talking about all this stuff in the morning. All right. And yeah, so those are the 3 bullet points that I have on this stuff. Fonsui, do you have anything else on what's going on out there?
Well, there's not a lot, there's not a lot of development just yet.
Mm-hmm.
We're still very early on in the process. We haven't seen the Triglavians take over. An Edencom system was just turned to the final state today, so we're going to see what opportunities are in that system to exploit now. And we're still waiting for any updates on the new ship and weapon line, because that was not intended to be part of the initial.
Yeah, it didn't show up on the patch notes, so that's still coming.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is there any word on when that should arrive officially, or is that a situation where you need to turn a system favorable to Edencom up to its highest amount, and then that stuff becomes available?
There's no word on how it's going to be put into the game or.
Mm-mm. But it wasn't in any of the
Correct. There's been no they don't have it done and they're holding it back from us.
Yeah.
It's still not done.
We're assuming it's still not done, therefore they're holding it back. But they are holding it back. We know that. So you can't possibly have new equipment or new modules, new ships, because it's not in the code, right? Like we didn't see it in the code.
Yeah, it's not out there yet. They would have to skip Singularity, Tranquility, in order to hide it from us completely, and they have very, very rarely, if ever, done that.
Right, and they didn't say it was going to be in this patch, but they did say it was going to be in this quarter, so it could be a little bit later in this quarter. Okay. Well,
do we know if the new Zapcap ship comes from Edencom LP?
We have no reports regarding the source whatsoever. But what we do know is that we're still getting DED loyalty points for helping Edencom as before. So the items that you're getting for killing Triglavians, the loyalty points that you were getting and the items that you were spending them on have not changed.
Right. Well, the scope video, didn't it reveal that the origins of that ship, at least, or equipment and ships coming from?
Well, I mean, it's got Edencom logo on it, so I mean.
And it was being built by Upwell because it kind of looked like an Upwell ship.
Yeah. There was Upwell was involved. I'm not sure exactly what the involvement.
Upwell Corporation. It's an NPC corporation that builds the structures.
Yeah, extra shade.
Right. Well, it's cool. Anyone else having a good time with this stuff yet, or you been involved in it? It's brand new. Let me see what this.
I think we're definitely in a wait and see kind of phase, but there are a lot of people who are out there.
So Dromzel wants to know if the that shape that he put a picture in there. It's a shape. Is a new Triglavian ship, and I'm pretty sure it's not. That is just a piece of equipment. Might be like a Sino-jammer of some sort.
Speaking of Sino-jammers, has there been activity with these sites in relation to Sino-jamming?
Sorry, say again?
Has there been any relation to Sino-jamming with these invasion sites?
I don't. I mean, there's the word Sino-jammer out there, but we haven't gotten a null-sec system yet, so we don't really know what we're going to see there in terms of what kind of capitals are allowed.
Okay, I'm circling back. I'm going to put a picture.
Oh, and that he linked. That's those are the industrial ships, but those are NPC only right now. The Triglavian industrials.
So that's what we're talking about. Those ships there. I'll zoom in so you could see. So those are. I'm sorry, I misled you. That is, I guess, an industrial ship. But they're just NPC, I guess. So there's your answer. I thought, though, that there was some equipment that looked like that. They were showing on, I think the art team was showing it a few Saturdays ago on CCP stream. Showing different shapes of Triglavian technology. But there it is, a new hauler. I wonder what it can haul. It's interested in. I wonder what they're interested in. Okay. Well, guys, thanks. Is there any other news to report aside from Triglavian stuff?
No, I mean that's the big update of the week.
Yeah. Just in case there was some stuff. Oh, some stuff that we covered yesterday. You can see it. We said that Origin Corporation had moved over to VOLTA. That is official. I think we were just having it as breaking news. But that is an official move. I think we can see it on Dotlan. Right here, you see VOLTA picking up 337 and Black Legion losing 409. So that's primarily Origin moving from one alliance to another. Don't forget, today, Wednesday, in a couple hours on CCP, CCP's Twitch, that's twitch.tv/CCP, I believe. Check out CEO Hilmar and CCP Ghost as they talk about not only the friendship machine, but also the skills builder machine that is EVE Online. And we talked about this yesterday and wrestled with some of the, or the day before, wrestled with some of the ideas that people can build skills using EVE Online. So they're going to tackle that too. It's something that they are putting out there to Games Press. This is, I think, the third time they're presenting these concepts to the public. They presented it to us in the FanFest in October, but this is more fleshed out. I'm sure there'll be a Q&A or of some sort, so you can check it out. That's today, I believe, at 1800 on CCP's TV channel on Twitch. All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We're going to stick around here afterwards. We're going to cut the stream now. Let's look for someone to raid. We try to help the little guy. Let's see. Okay, I've heard Evan McLean. You guys want to help me out? I don't know these streamers very well.
You could raid Emmeline Barra, the CEO of Einstein Rosen Brigade.
Okay, that sounds good. Don't see the name though. Oh, Emiliana
Barra.
Haven't heard of him or her. Okay, rating. Doesn't show up.
It's not working.
There it is. Okay, here we go. Check this out. This is more Triglavian stuff. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
There it is.